the Youtini Show, we talk about May the 4th, what Star Wars means to us, where the franchise is going, and a very weird job in Corey's past. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Youtini Show, a show that is sometimes about Star Wars. Including tonight, I am Eric here with Corey, Charles, and Wes, and in honor of May the 4th coming up this weekend, which feels insane because it used to be March, we're talking tonight about kind of the state of the union of Star Wars, how we're feeling about it, where we are in our own personal fandoms, the direction of the franchise. So, guys, I just want to say before we start here, it's been a hot minute since we talked about Star Wars.
It has. We did a bunch of testing on the show. We have several unreleased episodes where we talked about various things, and tech went to hell and didn't work at all.
Lots of Star Wars talking that.
Yeah, we only talked about Star Wars in those.
Yeah.
But then we started actually releasing the episodes, and they weren't about Star Wars. So, interesting to talk about it again.
Yeah, so, hey, pump up the views, guys. If you want Star Wars, you gotta let us know.
You want to do a book podcast together?
You know what?
Only if we could also send books out to our listeners in like a box.
That's a good idea.
I think that would be good.
Subscription kind of thing.
Sounds very labor minimal.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
I like it.
That's actually
You
weird.
just crushed the hearts of all of the people that used to be the Book Box Club.
There are dozens of us.
Wes, I will mail you books. Just say the word, man. Just say the
Just
word.
don't tell me what it is and mail me books. How much did you? How much was it? What? $11.99.
There was
$11.99.
I think a
for
single
hardbacks.
paperback was $11.99. I think the
Yeah.
hardback one was like, I think it was $35, I believe.
Yeah. Which is now like the price of a hardcover. Like books get. This is where I show my privilege a little bit because I get review copies for Youtini. I truly forget how much Star Wars books cost nowadays.
Expensive.
They're expensive,
Yeah.
and which
Wow,
I
a lot of them.
think they got to be worth your while. And I think that
Yeah.
that's actually hey, there's an interesting place to start this conversation. As far as we stopped doing the Living Force, so we kind of stopped getting in our groove as much. We stopped doing Bounty Hunt ourselves. Bounty Hunt is still on the Youtini Podcast Network. We have guested some. That's an incredible show. Make sure you're listening to them. But where are you guys in your fandom now in Star Wars now that you don't have necessarily a book release calendar? Now that movies haven't come out in a couple of years, shows are kind of more relaxed as you want. Like, where are you right now? How are you feeling about it?
I downloaded the Living Force book on my Kindle
Okay.
yesterday. Actually, I was in the airport lounge. And
That's like less than a month old.
I know. Yeah, I was like, I need to read a Star Wars book. I'm like this close to finishing the third Stormlight Archive Brandon Sanderson book, which is very good. It was like 59 hours, I think the audiobook was.
So good.
It's ridiculous. I've been working on this in like January. And
We should just talk about that. We should talk. Sorry, everybody. I lied to you all. It's going to be
it's about Brandon Sanderson instead. Yeah, I didn't load a Living Force. I texted you and I was like, I want to read a Star Wars book, I think, next. And what should I read? And you said Living Force and
I have darkness, right?
Eye of Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Living Force was one. I put it up on the site. I was telling you guys as I was reading it, like, it really made me feel that Star Wars like connection for the first time in quite a while in ways that I'd forgotten that I wanted, because it was like, oh, these characters we love, and I think John Jackson Miller did something special. So I'm really interested to see what you think about it.
Prequels will do that, man.
Yeah.
Prequel era will do that.
Yeah. John Jackson Miller is a goat as well.
He is.
He's a goat.
He is.
Just
Did you not know
literal
that?
goat.
Literal goat.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I told you we don't need a soundboard.
Wait, you.
That was Goat Boy from SNL.
Okay.
Yeah,
that was,
I was gonna say,
very
it's
accurate.
it's probably the most authentic goat noise any of us can
Yeah.
make. Like, I trust that that's what a goat sounds like.
Yeah, I don't want to look it up.
I've
you never heard of
been
goat
around
before?
goats.
I probably
A time or
have,
two.
but it didn't make an impact on me. I didn't think I'd be podcasting
You know,
about it 10 years
I
later.
milked goats for a summer one
All
time.
right, I don't even know that.
All right.
Is this
That's
before?
a true
Was
story.
this before or after you forgot how to tie your
This was
shoes?
before.
This was
Before the
okay.
shoes?
When I was
Starting to make
when I was
sense.
in high
Starting to
school.
connect the dots.
That's right. Yep. I was in high school. I worked on a goat farm for a summer.
Okay.
Got to milk the goats.
How was that?
It was, it was a little. I didn't use.
I
my,
don't know,
I
Corey.
didn't use my hands to milk the udders.
What'd you use?
You use a
Your
little
feet?
plastic gun thing, and you get it onto the teat. The teat.
No, understood.
Say more.
was for the first time you said.
He didn't get the reaction he wanted for the
Everyone,
first one.
if you're listening to this on audio, I gotta let you know, Corey's telling the story this whole time, and his eyes are going like You know,
I swear to goodness,
clearly
You
know.
do.
he hasn't
you.
blinked once.
I bet Wes
Just
is-
full eye
Wes
contact.
has milked a cow or a goat or something, I bet.
I have pulled on an udder from a cow before. Yes, with my hands, I have.
Hold
Yes.
on an udder. Okay.
I feel like
And milk it, but you pulled on that udder.
I believe it was an udder. I'm not completely positive. I'm pretty sure
All right.
it was.
Anyway,
Did you drink the
true
goat
story.
milk?
Well, we would pasteurize it, and then we would make cheese out of it and stuff like that. But you know,
I've heard people like
what?
what the verb pasteurize.
No, I think just how casually, like, what are we talking about? Oh, we would pasteurize it, and then we would make
Charles,
cheese out of
you
it.
went
And
to
then we would
medical
load up
school.
our wheelbarrow and walk it into town, and we would trade it for stones and glittery gems. Like, where were you, my guy?
West Virginia.
And then we made enough goat cheese to buy an electric light. It was one of the newest inventions in the town.
What a battery.
Oh,
Well,
Yeah, Corey's a doctor, but weirdly, he has a weird relationship with penicillin. He doesn't believe in it, so
That's right.
I'd be
That's
a little
right.
wary of it.
where were we?
John Jackson Miller?
John Jackson Miller.
Obviously.
He's a goat.
That's
Go.
right. Wow, we
That's how
made
arrived
it.
at that.
I can't make a short out of that, guys. I can't.
I don't know how I've never told you guys that before, considering we've been doing this for like 6 years.
I know. I think it's one of the D tier
5
stories you got, so I think it makes sense. You've been going through the good content first
It was just one summer. I got fired from that job, actually.
because you were
Must have
shooting
been-
the teats with a gun. That's
No.
what I got from that story.
I don't really remember. I think I went on vacation and I didn't give him enough notice, I think. But, you know, I think I gave the boss a notice, but not the manager.
And they're here
Were
today,
they-
everyone. Let's bring them out, everybody. Corey's old goat boss. Yay!
Did they have enough people
No,
wanting
it was
to
just-
work
it was
on this
just me.
goat farm?
It was just
it
me.
was just
You're the only goat milker in the tri-state area.
It was me and my cousin. True story.
dude. What?
We worked on this farm, and it was a. You know,
It was
they
me
were
and
like-
my cousin, also
they were
my
like-
wife.
They were like,
They're like, I've read
like
this
10,
fiction.
they're like 10 goats, and we would take care of the farm and milk the goats and cut the grass and among other things.
This is not a Star Wars podcast. Should we get?
That
We get-
15-second skip button on Spotify's doing some work right now to get through all this.
That's fair.
Okay, so to answer your question, that
Thank you,
brought
sir.
back,
Yes.
I
What did you milk?
I haven't milked anything. I
Speaking
also
of milk.
bought a Star Wars book though
I did.
Okay.
recently. I bought Eye of Darkness. I bought the hardcover because I still actually am collecting the High Republic stuff.
Yeah.
and
Looks good on a shelf.
yeah, it does look good. I'm keeping them for now. So I got that. That's my next book after I finish the one I'm reading right now. And I actually am excited to get back to it because it's been
Yeah.
this will be the first one I've read since whatever the last one was that we read for The Living Force, which is
Path of Vengeance, maybe?
Okay.
The Cameron Scott?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I
Definitely a
needed
High
that
Republic
break.
book.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
that break. I honestly think it was phase 2. The High Republic like threw me off. Like,
Yeah.
because I was like really into it. All phase 1.
Yeah.
Then phase 2, we've talked a lot about that.
It was
on the
polarizing.
Living Show. It was polarizing, and you know, like went back in time. It was harder. It was a little harder to follow, I think. But like, and I don't know if I finished all of phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think we read most of it.
Yeah.
I think we finished it.
We finished
We
it,
finished
but
We finished it.
But it's a weird thing too in that regard of like Star Wars. We are so of two minds as fans. I feel we're like we need more stories, but then also like slow down but speed up appropriately. So when I'm in the mood, make sure there's something new. But when something new comes out, it needs to be at a time when I'm not doing something else.
Yeah,
But
There's
not
also-
so long that I get behind. Like it's a
Yeah.
very weird balance.
There's also always that strange commentary of like, did we need this?
I
And it's
know.
like, first of all, who's we? And the second of all, what is need?
Yeah,
Like,
you need
know.
food and shelter and goat's milk. Okay, that's the only three things that a human needs to survive.
that's true.
But
That's
yeah,
true.
like the stakes get so high. I feel within Star Wars fandom sometimes, especially those couple of years. I think we talked last episode briefly about what COVID did to our brains with entertainment. Of like, this is my rock. This is what I have. Like,
Mhm.
like for a lot of like Star Wars was that relief. Like the Mandalorian came out like. And it was that moment of, oh my God, I have something to look forward to. Like these books would come out and I can't see my friends, but I got the Star Wars book. Like it was such a linchpin. And now we have so many things we can do that I feel like does it need to happen? Is it the best thing ever? Like maybe it never needed that amount of stress on it.
Mm.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
Personally,
so.
that's what I'm trying to pull back on. I'm trying to let them just be more.
I think the thing that happened was like, I think the books were really all that sustained us for the longest time.
Yeah.
And then we started getting a lot of really important TV.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
then I think the books kind of unfortunately fell to the wayside a little bit. And now we're sort of in between projects, it feels like.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, which is weird because I feel like sometimes we see these TV shows as like, this is the thing that is the most important that I put my time in.
yeah,
It takes so much longer to read a book than it does to watch a TV show.
that's true.
But the time commitment to books is so much different. And I find it interesting now that because Star Wars is in a transition period, I like what you said, Corey, about it feels like we're in between projects a little bit. And like High Republic is in phase 3, but also there's other things starting, like the Mandalorian stuff. It's kind of maybe going to the movies. Like Star Wars as a whole is in this pre-period of we're going to get a bunch of movies, guys, that are going to matter a lot. And Thrawn showed up on Ahsoka, but then probably going to movies. Like, it feels like we are now in the, oh boy. Like, I feel my anticipation starting to rise again, I think is what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like this was the year of enjoying Star Wars, but being like, oh, in like 2 years, I think I'm going to be rabid all over again.
Interesting.
Maybe.
It's true. It's definitely a ramp up period, but an adjustment all at the same time. It's the thing about Star Wars that I think is so interesting in, let's say, since we started the podcast is like there are these big movements, but there's still just the individual pockets because like you're mentioning this stuff going to movie theaters. That's obviously what they're banking on, like is like the future of the saga, and they're trying to funnel people in through the TV shows. And then there's the High Republic stuff, right? Which has been, it's so many people that are watching those shows, going to go see those movies, have no idea what that even is.
Yeah.
Have never even heard of that at all. But it all still is supposed to tie in with, like, it's very difficult to do all of that. So you got all these different pockets of Star Wars fans, and then you got the fandom as a whole, and it's got to work for everybody. And it can't. It can't. That's kind of the rub. It cannot.
That's the huge thing is that, like, there is such an idea now that there's so many projects that all Star Wars is for someone, but not all Star Wars is for everybody, which is great. And why we get stuff like Andor and stuff like Ahsoka and stuff like Young Jedi Adventures, right? And I think the big test that is already off to a start that is not great is going to be the Acolyte. Is like you're mentioning High Republic, people don't know what that is. I think they're like, okay, the Acolyte is going to give some lore, and so we're going to connect, and people are already so ready to destroy it or bank everything on it.
Is that a thing?
What?
Why do you say that the Acolyte is like set up for?
Great question.
I didn't know anything about it.
I love this. So a big thing we're seeing with the discourse, right, quote unquote, the discourse around the Acolyte, is that it is easily the most diverse Star Wars project that's coming out. So naturally, it got review bombed when the trailer came out. People saying it's woke Star Wars, like that is restarting essentially. And I think this is similar to how Solo was kind of the, hey, can we go kind of outside the Skywalker films, that in Rogue One? Like, can we try this? Can we test a concept and see if we still want to do it? I think Acolyte is, this is not at all connected to your regular person's movies. Like, Boba Fett is not going to be in this. Like, you are not going to have people from the cartoon. This is books, and this is a brand new era. So I think this is them saying, we're going to try it. And if this works, I think this gives a lot of credence to the Dawn of the Jedi movie. I think this gives a lot of credence to more creative freedom in Star Wars. And I don't know. Again, Disney Plus numbers are all fake, I think. Right? I mean,
but I mean, that is how they should be using that platform. I would
agree,
argue
man.
it is a testing ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then sure, you can take stuff to movies that really takes off or that really seems to catch people's fancy, but it doesn't, like, everything. Like, look at Kenobi. Like, obviously that.
Happily.
I mean, yeah, you have looked at it.
Show rocks.
You have looked at it for a long time. Wonderful, right? Wonderful. I think is one of my favorite projects ever for a lot of reasons. But like, it's not going to become a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it just is.
That's right.
It just is, and it's okay for it to just be.
I know.
Dang.
Just be.
I
Be
think
like
Kenobi.
I think that is ultimately in 2024 where we see Star Wars, where I think we want it to be and where it could be and where it has a risk of going. I think you nailed it there, Charles. That's my perfect Star Wars, is it is and it will be. It just exists. Like, the stories exist, the characters do exist as they are, and we tell the story, and oh my gosh, we're good. And I'm worried that there's a possibility of how does this affect this? How I'm reading this because I want to get the next thing, and I want like it's just always momentous and it's almost anxiety inducing.
Yeah, there's a weird sense of that with like this new era of Star Wars and live action TV of like it all has to be connected. Like they accidentally backed themselves in the corner a little bit with this whole like Mandoverse, Filoniverse thing.
Yeah, 9 ABY, dense year, guys.
Yeah.
Dense year.
Seriously, like there's so much stuff that's going on, and it feels like it all has to build to something. And I don't know. There's a lot of commentary on like YouTube and stuff about like how Avengers has kind of like ruined movie making.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like you feel like you have to make all these franchises connect and build up to one big thing. And then you have to try to achieve that over and over again. And it's just kind of, I agree. I kind of just want to watch the film or the TV show and like, it's just good. And
You guys think the bubble popped? The Avengers franchise?
that's a good question.
Of build? Because I think like Marvel, obviously they're always going towards a big thing, but it almost feels like obviously the Marvel, Star Wars, Disney umbrella tries to do one tactic for a bunch of different projects, which it shouldn't. But it almost feels like they're almost doubling back on, no, we're going to make our most successful product their own thing. Like Loki is very intertwined with the timeline, but it wasn't cameo fest. It was just this very integral story, and people loved it, and it was very successful. I'm like, it feels like a lot of the stuff they're starting to talk about might build new stories, like Fantastic Four will build new stories, but it's not necessarily stories that are based in the first Captain America movie. And
I think I don't think it was ever a bubble to begin with. I think the Avengers was a one-time success story that may never be repeated again in movie history. Frankly. Like most of the movies that led up to the Avengers were pretty good.
Yep.
Like, there's a couple of them, like the second Thor movie, I think.
Dark World.
Yeah, which were kind of like, whatever. But like,
yeah, the Borg one was in it.
that's right. Remember that?
That got one of the 2 stars that it needed.
That's right. Yeah, but so I mean, like,
let's say that you've never seen the Avengers. You've never seen Endgame. You've never seen all the Marvel movies that led up to that. And you've watched Star Wars and you watched all these new projects. It doesn't feel like they're coming to a head at all on any of these shows.
I can sense them feel like want to, though. You know what I mean? Like it feels like they want to, but like
I think marketing wise and business wise, it would be a smart idea because it would make the audience go back and watch everything and binge everything if they see that this all comes to a culmination of some big event where everybody gets talking about it. So they're like, oh, great. Now I got to stop and I got to go back and I got to consume everything.
But I think something that's interesting about like the Avengers model, at least from what I remember of it, and I honestly have largely stopped watching Marvel stuff, or I'm certainly not up to date, is like the individual projects were very much standalone. Like, even though there's always that post-credit scene that like teases the next thing, like, you know, whatever, the first Captain America movie, all of those movies, they were just like stories in and of themselves. And then later they started kind of crossing over.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little bit different with like, at least how it feels like what happened with the Ahsoka show, where they've introduced something that they've very clearly intend to pay off in a movie later. So it's like different format, not technically the same project. Like it's weird. It feels like it doesn't stand as well on its own because it feels like it was all like a prelude to the thing. But I want the thing to be the thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I would also kind of argue that maybe I think the High Republic is maybe a little bit guilty of that too.
Well, because it started out as not that, which is interesting.
Yeah,
and
that's right. I think that's why it was.
We were like, hey, our dream, we've always wanted our projects, maybe as adults, maybe this is our thing because our time is precious and like eventually we're all going to go into the grave. But we're like, listen.
Some sooner than others.
We said, listen, it's all that goat milk, man, going to your head. Like, I want to know what I'm in for. Like, Star Wars is a trilogy. It's a trilogy of trilogies. We know that. High Republic is like, there's 3 phases. There's 3 adult books, or maybe 2 adult books. There's YA, but like, we started to dilute it. And now they're like, well, after phase 3, we'll see where it goes. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I kind of just want to have your full things. Like, the fact that the Throne Ascendancy trilogy was like, Timothy Zahn is signed out for a trilogy. And it was great, because you know it ends. The Bad Batch right now, for instance. I'm all caught up with The Bad Batch. I think we are currently in the middle of quietly one of the best animated seasons of television we've ever gotten in Star Wars, because it's the last season. Like these characters are going to be done. Andor season 2 is coming up. And you know where it ends? We do, because Tony Gilroy has told us 1 billion times, Rogue One. And he's like, the last scene is him walking through the market. Like, we know these things end, and we're like, cool, then all the stakes you need get to be within your story. And I think Star Wars is doing that here and there. And I think if we keep pushing to that, I think we keep getting some really exciting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that that's probably true. I think that we're sort of in a little bit of dangerous territory, a little bit. Like State of the Union. The State of the Union is never like everything is wonderful.
We're great, guys.
Yeah. No one ever says that.
Everything's awesome,
right? There's always some snide remarks, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not going there, but I'm saying that like,
let's dive into that.
Let's not. I think we're in this weird position of Disney is making a lot of really kind of strange big moves in the last couple of years. It seems like they Bob Iger retired, and then his predecessor came on.
Chapek.
Yep, Chapek came on.
Yep,
Bob 2 came on.
Second Bob.
I number 2.
Everybody hated him.
Robert
seemed like he was kind of a crappy dude.
Yep.
I think maybe he was a little bit of a scapegoat in some ways, probably. And then
was
Iger's
famously the more business one as well. Was famously the numbers, money.
That's right.
Like, made a lot of decisions based on what he assumed would profit.
Right. And now Iger's back again. And, you know, they've talked a lot about the investor calls. The last 2 years has been interesting. JG on our team is always like tuned into the investor calls.
I love you, JG, for doing
That's
this.
super cool.
It's a great little play-by-play for us. What's going on? What's going on, buddy?
Yeah.
And it seems like
inside company tidbits that you would never get just by like scrolling, even reading and scrolling through like the benefits call or something like that too.
How do you even find out when that call is, and how can you just hear that?
Public?
Yeah, buy some stock.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Do you have Disney stock, Charles?
I do not own Disney stock. No.
You fool!
I'll probably have like what's the guy's name on Mad Money? Is that his name? Mad Money?
Oh, Mad Money! Oh my goodness!
Damn it! I know what that guy's name is.
Yeah,
Shit.
That's his name.
No, that's not it.
That's somewhere around there.
I'll get back to you.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the things that are coming out of those investor calls are like, it seems like they are also a little worried about this whole Marvel thing, and they keep trying to get the bigger and bigger numbers, and the movies are costing too much now, and there's a lot of corporate messing around. It seems like,
but I think we're on the precipice of something really, really cool.
Maybe or a catastrophic failure. One of the two.
True.
One of the Disney Plus is like a weird experiment, right? Because more and more services keep getting bundled with Disney Plus now.
Because streaming's bad.
Yeah.
This is what we've actually learned. Streaming was never supposed to work like this. And now all the companies are like, oh no, we've just been underpaying everybody and then trying to get away with not having ads and giving all this stuff away for $10 a month. And then they realized, we lose millions of dollars doing that, which is why like Netflix is increasing its thing and Disney Plus has increased its prices. Like, it's like triple of what it used to be. But
I know, it's ridiculous.
And now they're like, can we put in ads or commercials and bundle together with 65 other things and make it that? And you're like, that's cable.
That's cable. But what's on demand? And you know what else is on demand? The Youtini Discord community. Everybody, this episode is brought to you by the United over at youtini.com/Discord. We want to thank our entire Discord community, which guess what is brand new in 2024. If you head over to our Discord, you can join up for free. It's an absolutely free Discord, and you can meet thousands of like-minded fans in brand new channels with everything from Star Wars to individual Star Wars books to non-Star Wars books, movies, gaming, sports, whatever you want. There's always a conversation of like-minded fans going over at the United Discord. Head over there today, jump in whatever channel you want, and mute the ones you don't, because Discord is really scary if you have every channel on all the time. But go in, find some new friends, make some lifelong connections, and enjoy what you love about Star Wars. Again, thank you to youtini.com/Discord for being our sponsor of this week's episode. And now, back to the horrors and the future of franchise entertainment.
That was off the dome.
That was off the dome.
It was good until that last little bit. You butchered it. Sorry.
Yeah,
I know.
Redo it.
We don't edit these.
This is
Kyle
live.
does. Thanks, Kyle.
Live.
But one thing I wanted to say before that totally natural ad read was one thing that I think is cool that we're going
Jim
towards.
Cramer.
That's
his name.
Jim Kramer.
That's his name.
Jim Cramer's cool.
You just Googled that while I was doing that ad read. Oh, God. So aside from streaming, becoming basically cable with on demand eventually, which I think in the next 5 years, there'll be like 3 services. I think this year in movies, we've actually seen a really cool shift in the social order of entertainment with things like, it's not a bit, with like Dune Part 2. I think is the most easy one right now. It's going to cross $700 million this week. And it was made on a budget that I think was $185, $190 before promotion, which is like about 2/3 of a normal Marvel Star Wars movie. And it looks better. It's been more successful. And there was an interview I was reading with Denis Villeneuve, the director, that was like, how did you do these effect shots for so cheap? Like, they look incredible, and we've seen your budget. Like, what? How did this work? The Marvel stuff now looks fake. Like, and he literally said, unfortunately for those guys, there was a lack of corporate interference.
Yeah.
He's like, we pre-planned everything because we had a script. We pre-planned every shot, which means that on the day, we weren't adjusting things. We weren't rebuilding things. We knew exactly what we had to pay for materials. We knew we had to pay to train the people. So on the day, there were no surprises. So the budget remained the budget the whole time. And I think we've seen so many studios in franchise entertainment panic spend about reshooting or getting stuff out fast, and we'll just fix it. And that becomes very, very expensive. And stuff like Dune is like, no, man, if you just have a plan, make your movie. Like, they didn't know they were going to make Dune Messiah. They thought they might. But he was also like, yeah, I'm going to make the movie. And then afterwards, if it's successful, we'll do another one. And I think that is an interesting thing that now that it is proven that it works, is going to be like, oh, you can't really deny that if you plan, you make a good movie.
But why does that sound like the standard? That should have been the very first movie that was made.
Exactly.
Very first movie, any movie that had been made.
No, I mean,
and then they should have built off of that.
Yeah. I think that's what, now we got a course correct, because you're so right.
It's ironic, though, because that is what like George was so afraid of. That's why he did all this on his own, and he made the movies on his own, and like he founded Lucasfilm, and
but he made the Falcon out of duct tape.
I mean, like
they were. He didn't want to put all the budget in because the risk of loss. I mean, you know, like as a business fan yourself, like once you start,
you're a fan of business.
Is he wrong? No,
business is your fandom a little bit.
Who do you cheer for?
Business creation.
Go business!
Yay! Business, president business. But like, the more you spend, the more stress you, because the more you can lose, and like the higher those budgets get, the more. It's why Solo had such a tough time. Is that it made almost $400 million, but it flopped because the higher the reshoot budget got, the higher the issues got, the higher it got. The stakes became so high that of course it was going to fail.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you could have just made the movie when you're spending that much. So
how do you think they can course correct then at this moment? Because we're gonna, like you said, we're in kind of a pivotal moment. I feel like in
not a detrimental moment.
Not necessarily.
We're not done.
Bad moment. No.
But it's a point.
But it feels like they can go in a couple different directions. Some of which are good, some of which are kind of bad. Like we got Disney Plus is sort of on the fritz a little bit, right? It's losing a ton of money. They've been very open about that. All the TV shows are all kind of leading to this eventual thing. Are those movies even going to make it? Are they going to get canceled? They keep canceling movies. Like, there's a lot of crazy whirlwind stuff. So how can they course correct, you think, and like get back to a little more stable, maybe the word to use, place?
Intentionality, I think, is really what I think. Like, have an idea of a project, and like we've seen, like Tony Gilroy with Andor again. Sorry for Andor talk again. Not sorry. It's the best thing Star Wars has ever done. Comment. I'm sorry. You're our fans. I don't mean to make fun of you. That's belittling. That's stupid. Thank you. Tony Gilroy wanted to make Andor, and he had a plan, and it was 2 seasons, and they're like, cool, let's make it. And I think that's the answer, is having creators that have an idea, or that are brought an idea that they agree with, and then you have a set time frame.
With a start and a stop. That fits into the, that's what the expanded universe used to be, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just these endless trilogies that never went anywhere. It was like, this is the standalone thing, and it takes place in this gap in the timeline, and it's just good.
Shout out to Lyndon's Look Back doing the entire New Jedi Order this year, which was planned, and they kept going, baby.
Just do it. And then maybe later on you add on to those stories.
It
those
feels more
characters.
complete. Yeah, like you say, it feels more complete. It doesn't feel like you're always searching for something after you're done with the book. Like maybe they can come up with another trilogy, another, what is it? Nanodecology of books.
Exactly.
Yeah, buddy.
19
So-
bucks, baby.
It did feel more complete when it was, even though I haven't read most of the Legends books, it just felt more complete whenever you would finish
Yeah.
a book or a trilogy from way back when. But now it just feels like after a series or a show on Disney Plus is done, like everybody's always anticipating of what is next. And
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be that way.
What's
You know-
spin-offs? What
You know what it needs to be? Have you guys ever seen those pictures where it's a big picture made out of a bunch of little pictures of the same person?
Yeah.
It's like a face of Kobe Bryant, and it's like just like
A bunch of highlights. of Kobe that are
2,000
very small.
pictures of
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
That's what this stuff should be like. Each one of those things is an individual, complete thing in and of itself, but it just so happens to be a part of the bigger picture. Like it shouldn't be that like it shouldn't be like a jigsaw puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It should be like those things. I
Yeah.
don't know what those are called.
it's a collage.
Whatever those, it's a collage. I
But it's
Yeah.
giant collages.
feel like I should have known that. But
Oh, okay.
A bunch of little
You know
Kobe's into a big Kobe and what people want to see this way.
Make sure your safe search is on there, Wes.
that's the name of tonight's episode. A bunch of little Kobe's into a big Kobe.
Black Mama forever. You know what it should be? This is gonna sound weird. It should be Star Trek. And here's why. Here, hold.
Get out. Get out.
What does that mean?
No.
It should be Star Trek.
I had to make sure everyone left first. Star Trek right now is doing an incredible thing for their fans because Star Trek had the movies with Chris Pine in them. They released 3 of them. Tons of fun. So
Star Trek into Darkness.
Star Trek in the Darkness, Star Trek Beyond, great movies. Currently, there are a number of Star Trek series running. There's, I think New Frontiers is one, Picard. There's an animated one that's a little silly. And they have a bunch of novels being written, some by John Jackson Miller. And every Star Trek project is kind of its own ship and crew. And like Picard is literally the next generation, folks, all came back. The New Frontiers one is all the new people, and they have their own vibe. Some of them are different timelines, but all of them have their own individual style and succinct vibe. But they're all very clearly Star Trek, and they own that. And I don't think they necessarily cross over, but they're all just dedicated to their bit. And I think that, and every Star Trek fan that I know is loving it right now. They don't all watch everything, but like my folks are big Star Trek fans, and they love the new stuff. They don't watch the animated one, but they watch Picard and the new show.
Mm-hmm.
And each show knows exactly what it is. Its tone is very specific, and its crew is all dedicated to that project. And that's what it is. They don't try to each be kind of the same product to hit every audience. And I think Star Wars could get there. Like Skeleton Crew, Andor, and Ahsoka could all be very different shows.
Yeah.
And if they all just dedicated to their story and then ended it, I think that's what it could be good. I think that's why Clone Wars and Rebels are both such good shows. They're kind of a continuation, but they're really different,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that's
Yeah.
what I want Star Wars to be.
But
is-
the fact remains that we don't hawk the Trek here.
no.
We don't.
Listen. Oh, sorry. I would say, yeah, the content is garbage. Don't watch it. Also,
We actually at some point should do a Star Trek episode. I've never.
one of
gotten
us is
into
going to
it.
have to get our parents' Paramount Plus password because who of us has Paramount Plus?
Who among us?
Oh my
Wes, you have Paramount Plus?
My parents have it.
There we go. That should be their whole thing. Paramount Plus.
All day, yeah.
Paramount Plus. Your parents' favorite password.
What's on Paramount Plus? Why does everybody get that? Is that where Yellowstone is?
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
I was gonna say there's a reason that all the parents have Paramount
Yeah.
Plus. I was like,
Well,
it's gotta be something.
it's Yellowstone. It's a lot of Nickelodeon is on there.
Point at that.
Star Trek.
Excellent.
Oh, the Halo series is on there.
It's point at that either.
No, it's Yellowstone. It's Yellowstone.
It's Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
What's the
Yellowstone.
what's the spinoff of Yellowstone? Like 1883 or something? What's
There's a
that?
couple.
It's a
1883,
year, yeah.
1913, and then there's going to be the 4 6s,
Yeah.
which is just a spin-off.
I
of
bet your
Yellowstone.
family's not real into Yellowstone, Wes. I bet that's a
Yeah, my mom and dad love it. They and
Yeah,
my
His family's
grandmother.
in Yellowstone.
Yeah, listen, I know sometimes there's stereotypes, but let's just call a spade a spade. You're texting with parents that watch Yellowstone. Like it's very
they-
easy.
They have a podcast afterwards. They talk about it and they put it on.
Your parents do?
Yeah, and my grandmother.
That's not.
You're
That
lying.
should have been the ad, Wes.
That's not real.
Your grandma has a Yellowstone podcast.
That's right.
What is it called?
Is it called
wrong.
Yellowstone?
Oh.
Did she just like smoke a J after the episode and talk about it?
Gold.
That would have been an immediate subscribe. Immediate.
Instantly. You gotta listen to it on 3x speed though, because she just pauses a lot.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think that. But also, weirdly enough, Yellowstone. Good example. They do a show, and then these limited series. That's how you get Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren to be in 1883. It's because they're like, listen, it's like 6 episodes. We're gonna go back.
You're
in
not
time.
supposed to plan a spinoff. You know what I mean?
No.
A spinoff is something that like the fans really latched on to one thing that happened in an episode or a show or something. And you're like, they love that. Let's see if we can expand on that. That's
like Better Call Saul.
yes.
Like Breaking Bad was a full story. You didn't always know where it was going to go, and they adjusted, but then they had their ending, and the Better Call Saul came up, and they did that full story. And it's like, if you want to be episodic and just see when you get renewed, that's fine. Like The Rookie does that on ABC, Nathan Fillion. It's like 7 seasons. They love it. It's not based on the universe of The Rookie, which I know there's spinoffs or whatever, but like every week it's its own thing. That's kind of what Clone Wars was.
Yeah.
Whereas this is now trying to be that, but also it all matters.
I know. It seems like a lot of live action Star Wars TV is like there's a lot of like, is this a spinoff?
Yeah.
How do you feel like this character? Like they shut up for 2 seconds. Spinoff. Like that's how I feel.
Is this a soft launch? Is this a soft launch?
Is it a soft launch? Yeah, exactly.
Is it Snoke?
I know. You know, like in old cartoons and stuff. There's like a recurring trope of like you have all the kids watch all the different types of cartoons and you're scanning their brains to see which ones like they like latch onto. That's what it feels like. Like how does this work with our test audience? You know what I mean? Like like it just feels very corporatized. You know what I mean? So I think if they want to course correct, they gotta get back to the art. I think.
Yeah, just tell the stories you want to tell and find your audience you're gonna find. And you know, you're Star Wars. You're gonna be fine. Like just keep telling your stories and I think I do think we are on the road to get there though. I earnestly think that it's gonna take a while to fully turn around stuff, but I think that get back to the roots of, you know, like when the movie comes out, we'll get a couple tie-in novels. That's really fun. Like the Bad Batch is ending. I'm sure we'll get another animated show that picks up somewhere else, and that'll be its own thing that doesn't have to tie to live action. Some of the live action won't tie to all the live action, and like get the creators that want to create and make it. Like
that sounds good.
I think we're on our way.
We have the opportunity to be, certainly. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Acolyte is going to be a big experiment, a big test for sure.
Yeah.
It's an untouched era of TV. We've never seen that done before. It started as books and turned into a show. I mean, there's a lot of ifs. So
yeah, like there's not a model to it too, which I find interesting. Like we talk about, you know, Marvelification and stuff, but like there's no rule book for how these things work. This has not been tried on this level.
It's all uncharted territory. I think that is a bit of the risk. Is like Star Wars live action TV was never a thing. We never thought that was. I mean, I remember I was in Guatemala like a decade ago. And we were stuccoing the outside of this house, and I was talking to my buddy Andrew. This is
where
very close in proximity to the goats.
Is this after goat milk, but before shoe amnesia?
Yes, that's exactly where it was.
They were Guatemalan goats.
The Legend of Corey Grows.
That's right.
Okay.
Anyway,
Guatemala.
Stuccoing this house, and I was talking to my buddy Andrew. We were talking about like, I think it was around the Disney purchase. I think actually that's probably about the timeline it was. So it is post goat milk. To be clear.
So 2012, 2013 is for those people that don't have a timeline at home.
After AGM, it was 3 AGM after goat milk.
My brain made that the battle of goat milk in my head. I don't know what the honor is. Just like just firing goat milk at people.
Oh man! Approximately 3 AGM. We're stuck on the outside of this house. We're talking about Star Wars, talking about live action Star Wars. Like, where's it going to be? What are we going to get? What are they going to do? What do you want to see? And I remember all of our ideas were like, I want to see a Darth Maul TV show. You know what I mean? I want to see. It was all like expansion stuff. Like I would love to see a Han and Chewie adventures show. Yeah. Like it wasn't this interconnected. All building to an Avengers. That wasn't even on our mind. Like not even at all. It was just like I just want
this
expansion. I mean, that's what the model is for the books, right? It was like the expanded universe. You expand on the characters you love. Like it doesn't have to be that connected. I don't know why they feel like they have to do that.
because it worked. Because I think that's
only once though. It only worked one time.
But
It's
it,
a lot.
but it worked once.
For
It
a
made them
lot of
billions of
money.
dollars.
That's
I think
true.
the
That's true. It
thing.
works really, really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it worked
That's
like
another
crazy.
thing I think they're always trying to go after is they're trying to make the most money at the box office. And I understand that is a goal, right?
Yeah.
Because if your movie makes the most money out of
Mhm.
any other movie, then you get that notoriety.
Yeah.
And then obviously you get the revenue from it. But you keep trying to one up over visual effects instead of the storyline, then it kind of suffers it.
Just accept the fact that you can lower your budget, make a great movie. And I mean, last year was when I got the most faith in movies that I've had in a decade. Because the top earners were Oppenheimer and Barbie. Were movies that were made by auteur directors that weren't part of other franchises.
Yeah.
And they just made movies and people wanted to see them because they were really freaking good movies. And I think that they didn't have crazy budgets. They had enough, but they made umpteen millions over that. And if Star Wars is like, cool, our next movie, we're not going to do 3 a year. We're going to do a couple here. We're not going to pull a solo where we release our Star Wars movie less than a month after a Marvel movie, which is what happened. That's why Solo failed, because Infinity War was there. I will die on this hill. That movie rocks, and we failed it. Wasn't us, it was Disney. I keep attacking you, audience. I know what it is about me tonight. I'm having a thing. We should talk after. Meet me afterwards, we'll talk.
The picture is called a mosaic.
Mosaic. It's a mosaic.
Wes, I don't know if you're just polite or if you're really slow at Googling.
I'm waiting for an awkward pause and like, it's got a mosaic.
I got it.
Jim Cramer.
Jim Cramer. I will say though, I do have a lot of hope though, honestly. Like I do feel very cautiously optimistic about the future, genuinely, because there's a lot of like uncharted territory ahead of us that they're sort of planning for, right? We have the Acolytes coming out, which is exciting. It's coming out in just a couple months. That's crazy. Like 2 months.
Yeah.
It's like very soon.
We also have Tales of the Empire this week.
Yes, Tales of the Empire is coming out.
Oh, wow.
The Acolytes coming out.
That's a whole show.
We got
We're working on an open world Star Wars game.
Star Wars Outlaws.
That's true.
Yo.
That's gonna be fun.
Yo.
And then the movies that they've announced, like they're
Yeah.
making a movie that you have to see the TV shows first to see the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, one of them.
that's not been done before.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
And then they are banking on the sequel characters again with the Daisy Ridley movie, right? So
Yeah.
there are some risks that they're taking.
Yeah.
In the
And
future.
what I love about the new projects as well is that most of the interviews that go on with the creators so far, and of course, interviews are interviews, and do they say blah, blah, blah? Like, are they honest? Who knows? But a lot of them are like, I talked to Kathy Kennedy, and I had this idea that I didn't think she'd go for, and she said, yeah, let's do it. Like, it seems like they are pitching their dreams, and Lucasfilm lately is being like, you're very passionate. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's do that. And I think that is the direction we want to go. Like, what is a story you've always wanted to tell? Like, James Mangold with Dawn of the Jedi is probably my most anticipated movie, because he was literally like, I want to know about the first Jedi. And I thought it was a little wild. And Kathy's like, no, let's go there. And now they brought on that writer from Andor who did the Narkina 5 arc. That's like, I want to write really complex dialogue. And they're like, great, let's go there. And
One way out.
you know,
We'll see. I think that the more that they can hand the reins over to the creators, the better off we will be. I think George was right about that. Always.
Yes.
I think that when you have people who don't understand movies, but they understand the business of movies, are making artistic decisions, I think it leads to bad outcomes.
yep, just sign the checks and leave them alone. Kind of like what Corey does with me with Youtini.
That's not
great.
That's not what I do.
So I was going to ask you guys. So one thing, as we wrap up, I want to ask you guys kind of the softball question. Sorry, Wes, it's not actually about softball. I didn't want to get your hopes up. I wanted to dash those quickly.
Could be.
This is about Yellowstone.
It is about Yellowstone, your grandma's favorite show. Very simply, in 2024, as we record this right now, what's your favorite Star Wars project? If because each of us, they change on the day, I think. But if you're thinking, gosh, I want to pick up a Star Wars,
Like ever?
yeah, if you think like, what's my favorite thing about Star Wars right now, as it stands in your mood today?
I see.
Like, what does it mean to you? What's your favorite? Could be a movie, could be a show, could be a book.
Good question.
Yeah. Easy question that is also very intense because there's hundreds to choose from.
Yeah, there is. I don't know. There's a lot of angles to go about that with. I mean, I think the most enjoyable experience of anything in the last like several years, I think for me, Andor was the best product. like just start to finish. Like we were just like, I don't have any criticism of this. I remember thinking we talked about that a lot.
We did Bounty Hunt still at that point. We're like, I don't know. Like, it's perfect. What do you want from me?
I think the best like communal experience was probably season 1 of The Mandalorian.
That was really special.
It was
really special.
We were like, damn, we just got like 8 hours of Star Wars content.
I remember the morning of that first episode being like, what? I couldn't even pay attention to the first 5 minutes. Like, this is
the riff.
real?
The riff of the music still like gives me. I have like memories associated with it.
I listened to it at the grocery store that week. Just like getting a grocery, be like,
And
then,
like,
that was the Drive to Survive or what? F1.
Mhm.
That was the Ultimate Fighter to UFC.
Yes.
Like The Mandalorian was like the big kickoff to people like the masses coming to see what is Star Wars all about, other than the niche Star Wars fans that were already there.
That's a great point.
Right?
Yeah, it made it really
Even more than the sequel trilogy, I think, honestly. I think like the Mandalorian kind of it didn't save Star Wars. It did change the trajectory of Star Wars forever.
It did, and I feel like we've lost that sense and nostalgia and excitement a little bit. Like we've shifted in this over analysis.
Yeah, like, was it that good? And I do that too. I'm totally guilty of that. I was, for a video we're doing coming up, I got a screen capture of the Luke Skywalker thing at the end of season 2. And as I was like just getting that for the video, I'm like, what's wrong with me? This was amazing. Like, I'm like, Luke Skywalker showed up. That was the coolest thing in the world.
I think we also only watched
a young,
once,
impressionable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What?
That's a good point. What of the new stuff do you actually revisit?
I've never watched any TV. I've watched the first episode of season 1 of The Mandalorian a couple times with the intention of like I'm going to watch the whole season again. But like,
I don't think we watched stuff.
Even the stuff that I love, like Andor and Kenobi. Like I haven't watched any.
But how many times have you watched Revenge of the Sith?
Dude, a lot.
Yeah, right.
Well, I didn't have Charles giving me all these books to read when I was watching Revenge of the Sith. That was the But okay, so Mandalorian and Andor kind of like are the mixture of what's doing it for you right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
So.
I think Mando is a great answer. I think my answer though is still Kenobi. That is the thing that has been the most meaningful because for me, it was a spinoff I never thought was actually going to happen. Yeah. As many times as it was teased, or as many times as people said that, he would do it or whatever.
Yeah. Do you remember him coming out on stage?
Yes, I remember. I remember where I was, dude.
Dude,
it's
me
like,
too.
what?
I know. I did too.
My buddy told me about it, and I had to look up the video after it happened.
Yeah.
I remember I broke a lamp. Remember me telling you guys about that?
Yes.
I threw the pillow and it knocked the lamp over and shattered it. Yes.
Are you going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi again?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that was great.
So it was just a perfect thing about a spinoff that wasn't supposed to happen. So there was no anticipation there, right? It was like a wonderful amalgamation of all the newness of Star Wars with, for us at least, like nostalgia from childhood.
Yeah.
So like 100%. It's like for me, like that was just perfect recipe. Yeah. And the show itself paid off in spades for me.
Yeah, Kenobi was an interesting show because we got to like, man, that was such a weird experience on thinking back of it. Like we were also focused on the magic that we like. Yeah. We didn't give a shit about the CGI was bad.
Yeah.
Or we didn't like there's a character development.
It's that meme of like, what is so great when no one's in your ear telling you it should be bad? It's like, because also it is not. And
I remember finding out afterwards that like everybody was so upset about the Princess Leia chase scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that literally never occurred to me. I was just like, I was so enthralled in the man. Like, oh, this is Princess Leia. This is cool.
We watched a celebration
adorable.
together on the big screen, and then Jimmy Smits came out with the other people that were in the show. I don't know who they are, but Jimmy Smits was there.
I know. And it was
You were there.
Yeah, it was magic. It was magical. And like, I think the most exciting Star Wars projects, the ones that lets you feel that sort of eyes of a child thing. You know,
Obi-Wan Kenobi was there, and it wasn't Ewan. It was Obi-Wan, and I think that's a great point. I love that you're like the magic of the nostalgia of the moment. You're like the magic of the product. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wes, what about you? What's your Star Wars as of right now?
Oddly enough, it is from the prequels, but it's not necessarily the movies themselves. It's after watching the prequels, it was getting into Battlefront 2, the video game.
Yeah.
Actually playing what I watched on TV was the first time that I've ever like been really like enthralled and really detailed into Star Wars, where I was in the video game, but I was also in the movie itself, like playing as Luke Skywalker, playing as those Jedi that I saw on there. And this was the first time that I was like, yes, this is something that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
But I had like the Battlefront 2 that came with 8 discs that I had to keep taking in and out. Back in the day, kids, you had to buy a whole booklet of CDs that you'd put into your CD-ROM.
Oh my
God! Download those things.
You talking about the cup holder? It's just a cup holder, right? You're like,
Yeah. No, that's no. I gotta ask you.
Immersion. It was a new set of immersion because they had Super Nintendo, they had like Rogue Squadron video game, but it was never a part of the movies like it was when you first got out of Phantom Menace and you first got out of Attack of the Clones. Those particular video games that they made, mostly because they were PC games and the graphics were a lot better, but it was just, and they were online multiplayer. That was one of the
I was like, you were there, like you played through the movie as kind of like watching the movie, but in Battlefront, like you were the clone, like you are on the battlefield, you are actively involved. Now,
campaign was so freaking good too.
It was so good, and that's why I'm excited for Outlaws, honestly, because like all this stuff, like whenever you go to jump to a new planet, a Star Wars game, and it's like Kajimi, Geonosis, it's like I know that.
Yeah,
I'm there. I'm walking on the planet.
I want to suspend disbelief with this new game. I'm going to try to play it in a vacuum.
I can't wait. I'm so unbelievably excited. And
I want it to be so large that you have to delete every other game within your hard drive just to have this in. Just to encompass the map.
Delete Call of Duty and you'll be fine. You can put every game that's been released in the last 5 years on your PC if you just delete Call of Duty.
It is outrageous how every update is like 500 gigabytes. It's freaking ridiculous.
And it doesn't replace the last updates. It's just additional space. I'll run this out by, no surprise to anyone.
Eric, what do you think?
It's Andor for me. Like to me right now, Andor it's every stage of my life into one project. It's the magic of seeing Star Wars as a kid, the edginess of being a teenager, and the moral political complexity as an adult. It is, I think, it is the Star Wars that I'm like, this is just a show that I want. This is the magic of this is what I always thought it looked like as a kid with all those. And now as an adult, I'm like, I think it's just as good. I think that it doesn't get better than this. And there's more of it. And it's going to have an ending. And there's actors and creators who love it. Like, for all the reasons around it, and just for the feeling I get when I watch it. Like, I still remember where I was. You say, I remember where I was when I saw Kenobi and where I watched Mandalorian the first time. Like, I remember watching that Lucid Rail monologue where he's like, I share my dreams with ghosts. And it's like, I'm like, damn, dude,
it was dark,
this
man.
is Star Wars.
Everything he said felt like it was out of a Beatles album, like, but during their acid time.
Every day,
I was like,
true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
Yeah, it is an unbelievable
It was dark and moody, and it existed in vacuum of itself. Like, it doesn't feel like there's no cameos.
Nope.
There's nothing. It's just like, it's just going to be a start to finish story, and you don't know who's going to live, and who's going to die. Like, it just feels.
And it's made with intention.
Yeah.
Every person for the people who made the costumes, to the people that framed the shots, to the dialogue writers, like, it just seems like it is everything that I never, to your point, Corey, I couldn't imagine what Star Wars television would be, right? I couldn't imagine asking for this. And it doesn't retroactively make other things I enjoy worse, but it is easily, when I think of, I'm excited to get another Star Wars tattoo on my body, like, Andor is the product to me now that makes it work.
Any Cassian's face on your chest?
Well, fun fact. Giggle. Come on, there's worse faces down on your chest.
Yeah, God.
I should just not tell Charlie and just do that. Put it like right on the pack and be like,
sure, that'll go well.
Tony Gilroy must have had just literally an ironclad contract for that to happen.
I'm going to make what I want to make. Well, he said recently, he says it's the most important thing he's ever made.
Really?
And he said in an interview, he's like, he spent 5 years with it now at this point. He's like, I think it's the most important piece of work I've ever been a part of, and I've loved a lot of stuff that I do. Like, if people haven't seen, he also did like Michael Clayton, a couple of really good political thrillers. But he thinks Andor is his magnum opus, and I'm like, dude, it's all
magnum opus.
Magnum opus.
What, do you have a magnum opus, Charles?
Is it our friendship?
I think those goats had a magnum opus.
You go get that checked out.
Listen, goat cheese is delicious. All right,
everybody.
It's really good. It's delicious.
Magnum Opus
actually-
is actually the name of your goat cheese brand you're going to start off.
That's a good name.
Dude,
Magnum
there
Opus
it is.
cheese.
Not
Dude,
bad.
that's it.
I
That's
like
for
it.
sure.
name.
Magnum Opus goat cheese.
Not bad.
We're at top of that, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on to this week's episode of the Youtini Show. Happy May the 4th to all of you. We hope you have a great week. Let us know in the comments if you're going to go see the Phantom Menace this weekend. Me, Corey, and Charles are going to go together, and we're going to FaceTime Wes in the theater. I'm kidding. Turn your phones off when the theater goes on. Go watch Tales of the Empire. Enjoy your favorite piece of Star Wars content. Buy some merch. But as always, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We will see you next week when we are going to talk about Charles' favorite thing in the whole world that has caused me and Corey a significant amount of pain. Other than that, have a good night, everybody. May the force be with you. See you later.